Well, welcome back to Morning Coffee. I'm Keith Reynolds, and I'm here with Mark Cook.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've had an action-packed day, and as always, we wrap up our show on Fridays with Carole with Fridays. Carole Moore from Whitebriar Cafe. Carole, welcome, and you have bought us goodies once again. Love it, love it.
Well, when you own a 200-year-old house and you have 22 rooms and there's only you and your husband living there, the kids are all grown, you have lots of places for collections. And so every week I try to bring you a collection, and today I'm bringing you my ViewMasters. I have almost 40 ViewMasters and 2,000 of the reels. And of course, when I do a show, I have to do my homework and my research as well. And I went back to find out about ViewMasters. Thank you, Wikipedia. They did 5 paragraphs on it, just on the ViewMaster.
Wow.
It happened to be after World War II. A gentleman came back, a soldier came back, and he couldn't get a job, which was common because there's so many soldiers came back after 45. He got a job at the pharmacy, and he was to do the photographs. People brought their roll of film in, he would develop it, print it, give it back to them, and this is what his job was. It was a menial job, it didn't pay much, but he enjoyed looking at the photographs. So anyway, that was how he started. And from there, he decided that when the man who owned the pharmacist, when he retired, he would buy the pharmacist from him and pharmacy from him, and he did. And he expanded these photos that he was seeing people go on vacation and bring these photos back, and he was looking at them. He expanded the business to be glossy postcards.
Okay.
So there's where a whole bunch of money went in, because he already has all the equipment to do the developing, and
Right.
it's just a matter of putting it onto the postcard. And it was the first time glossy postcards were made. Now, I have 50,000 postcards, truthfully, and it was not until the 1955-ish that the glossy ones came out. Everything was in a ribbed cardboard
Right.
that was a flat, not glossy. So that was his one first adventure.
It probably was a pretty big investment for him at that time, I would think, right?
And it was, he borrowed money, $2,500 from his father-in-law. No, his father-in-law died, and he borrowed the money from his wife,
Okay.
who got the insurance money
Right.
for the father, and that was it. That was the $2,500 got him started in the business. And lo and behold, from making the glossy postcards, he then met up with a German player piano builder. Now, I have a player piano, and the guts of the player piano are done with a metal strap
Coil.
that
Right.
pulls air into the bellows and makes it work. So it's a mechanism, all right? And Germans are noted for their, my grandfather's a German machinist and tool and die maker and all that. So, you know, this is right up his alley. So anyway, the owner of the company met this German fellow, and the German fellow and he got in together. And this German fellow, he actually invented a machine. And the machine would actually cut up a photo and put the photo on these discs, so that it did not have to be individually glued on, which is a pain in the butt. So they, 2 of them were partners then for the rest of the time. Eventually, they were bought out by one toy company, then another toy company, then another toy company, and they still are involved. There was one competitor that was called, was similar to ViewMaster, and they even bought out their competitor. So they are the only ones in the world that do this. And the whole aspect of it has to do with binoculars, all right? Each of your eyes sees differently. And your eyes, left eye sees from a different angle than the right eye. Yes, it's only 4 inches of a difference, but it makes it look 3D.
Right.
And that's why instead of having a one monocle, which you would look through, like a telescope that you would look through, that doesn't give it the same dimensions as having both eyes look
Right.
for it. So that was what they did. So then I continued learning my history, and every one of the reels comes in a folder, and these are some original ViewMaster folders.
A little higher. Hold it up a little higher so we can see it. There you go.
Okay.
That is so cool.
But what I have done, since kids didn't save the ViewMaster packs,
Right.
they just wanted the reel.
Mhm.
That's what they call the circle part. And so I have very few of the originals. So what I just did was I took some old Christmas envelopes and cut them down, made a pocket, and I have labeled them. Everyone has a number, everyone has a title. And therefore I have over 1,000 in one drawer in the nursery. And so each one came in a box like this. Now, boxes are more valuable
Yeah.
than the item that it's in, because you see I have 40 ViewMasters and I have one half a box.
Yeah.
I don't even have a whole box.
And it's kind of torn.
Absolutely
right?
tattered.
I
But
bet you
this-
that box is worth $100.
It is. It probably is.
Yep.
It probably is. So then Keith has the one that we started out with. Now, I had to learn out how it developed. Okay. No, yours is newer.
Yeah,
Try
that's
that
like the
one, this is
newest one,
older
right?
Yeah. We'll put this one down here.
That looks like the one I had when I was a kid.
This
Okay.
is
Anything in there?
basically, this is basically like
Landscapes?
clip art landscape.
Yes.
You know,
That's
doesn't
what
have
they
that
did.
3D
The
dimension.
very first glossy postcards were of landscapes.
Right.
Because remember, you still had patenting laws back then and all kinds of legalities. So if you had a real person in the picture, you'd have to get their permission,
Right.
and they'd have to get a commission. So they started with landscapes, particularly in Grand Canyon and places like that. So things that the normal person would not be able to get to see unless they took a mule train and rode the entire Grand Canyon.
Right.
They took photos of them
Right.
and then put them on so that you could go to the Grand Canyon, be a lazy person, not ride the mule, not walk all the trails,
Right.
but you could buy this souvenir
Mhm.
and take it home and show all your friends, this is what I saw, ha.
Right.
You know. And so the first ones that both of you have the tab to pull down, which makes the reel go around, is a triangle. All right, and that's the way it was from the 1950s right on up to the 1980s. Then in the 1980s, okay, here's another old one.
The 80s. Now we're in my
All
wheelhouse.
right, this is again the 50s to 80s. There's probably nothing in them, but you can see. Feel the difference?
Oh yeah.
Okay, the difference is they went from a regular polyvinyl chloride plastic to a harder plastic, more
Yeah.
density, because kids walk around with them. Kids drop
Yeah.
them.
Metal hole.
Metal hinge.
Metal
Yes.
hinge.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I'm starting to see some 3D work.
Yep.
Not great 3D work, but back then it was great.
It was, yes.
You know what I mean?
They did that with coloring. Remember blue
right.
and red? One eye is
Layers.
seeing blue and one eye is seeing red.
Right.
Therefore, when they come together, they look three-dimensional.
So yeah, definitely seeing some layers. This
And
is
you
pretty cool.
and you
And
see-
this is heavy.
Yes, because
This is heavier
they
gauge.
went to Bakelite. Bakelite is what was the top grade plastic at the time in the late 40s, early 50s. Bakelite was on pots and pans. That's why it got its name, Bakelite. And it is a plastic, but it is a stronger plastic, and it doesn't warp, but it's much more expensive to
You
make.
know what it looks like? I go to an eye doctor. He's 150 years old, and all his equipment is really old.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like. It
That's
looks.
exactly
This is
right.
this is stuff that you know. Maybe I'm getting my eyes tested on a ViewMaster, and maybe that's why I have to go to the eye doctor so often, right?
Actually, what's going to change? The only thing that he's doing is magnifying your eyes. So the lenses in his antique equipment
Right, they
are
look
not
just
gonna
like this.
change.
Right.
Right.
It's what he perceives in your eyes.
I gotta
that he
find a
can
new eye
do it
doctor,
to.
don't I?
Wait,
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Friday with Carole.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Simply Gents, located in Marlton, New Jersey, takes care of all your grooming needs, including haircuts, straight razor shaves, massages, facial, manicures, pedicures, and waxing. To find more information or book an appointment, visit us online at www.simplygents.com. The secret weapon of a well-groomed man, Simply Gents. Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Well, welcome back. I'm Keith Reynolds, host of Morning Coffee. I'm here with Mark Cook, my other host, and we are here with Carole, Friday with Carole. Carole Moore from Whitefire Cafe, and we are talking about, for you guys, look at this. This is how we entertained ourselves for you young folks watching years and years and years ago. These are ViewMasters. Yes. So Carole, we were just talking, you kind of were giving us the history of it. You know, we started off from like the first ones being made. Now we're at a little bit more heavier one. Yep. We were talking about new kind of plastic. So what's next?
Okay, they decided that children, now my degree is in nursery ed and geriatrics, so I can relate to this. Children who are 3 years old don't have their small muscle coordination as yet. And so the small nodule here was difficult for 3-year-olds. And, you know, we didn't have computers and, you know, all these phone things that you could play with when you were waiting in the doctor's office. So mothers would take the ViewMaster and the child would sit there and look through the ViewMasters. And so in the late 50s, early 60s, they added the button. And now that is a finger-sized button that makes it easier to pull the lever.
You know, one of the features of the ViewMaster and these kind of like more traditional styles is that you needed to look up into the light to be able to see it. Now this bad boy.
Well, he's going to be our last one to talk about.
Oh, so I shouldn't have shown him yet.
Don't show him yet.
Oh, my bad. I don't even know what you were talking about. I don't have anything. I don't have any self-lighting ViewMasters. Give me a break.
So the button is what they added, and they also took and made the V. They call it a V. It's more like a
U. Yeah, it's more of a U.
But they made it more defined so that it'd be easier for the 3 and 4-year-olds with those small muscles to get the ViewMaster in and then to pull it.
You know what I didn't realize? That the ViewMaster actually has a little description of what you're looking at
on each frame.
On each frame. Yep. So like in this ViewMaster here, this is the reel of the television special, The Little Drummer Boy. So all of the images are just like you would see on the TV special, but on the inside here, on each frame, it says the animals danced as Aaron played his drum. The drum his father made. Right? I don't remember that. Right? That's a piece. That's a piece that I forgot. That I'm sure I knew as a kid, because you're looking and then you look and you're like, oh yeah, there's the drum his father made.
Now turn it to the next one.
All right.
And more different words come up and tell you the next frame.
Oh my gosh. Do you know what it says? It says bandits came one night and slew his loving parents.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would write it like that anymore.
I don't know. This is 1950s.
Yeah, that's
we used to call them as we see them.
Yeah, it's a little more straightforward. Now, the image isn't very graphic, I'll be honest. It's not there's no actual murdering going on here, but yeah, that's something else.
You know what? And I tell you what, this one right here, you gotta take a look at this.
That's a cool one.
We were talking about eye doctors. This looks like something that the eye doctor tells you to look at and tell you the depth of everything. Mm-hmm. This is pretty crazy. Actually, I think that leprechaun's in here that Carole bought on that one.
Let's not go. I thought, wait a second, I don't think we were ever going to speak of those again.
That's right, we were.
This was purchased at Disney. Whether it was Disneyland or Disney, what's the other one?
Disney World.
Disney World, one of them that you can see, and that's what it got to be. It got to be a theme, because when ViewMaster bought out their competitor, okay, their competitor had a contract with Disney, which came along with it.
Wow.
So they was very valuable.
Yeah.
Right? So they were able to do all the Disney characters, all the
Nice.
cartoons, anything, Cinderella, all of them.
I don't want to get too far ahead again because I like to screw up your flow here, but Fisher Price eventually acquired ViewMaster, right?
Well, we went through 5 different toy companies.
Okay.
Each toy company,
Well, you say we.
the company, I'm speaking as the company.
Okay.
I wish I had ViewMaster stock.
Yeah, right?
I know. And they each did a little bit more into expanding the content of the ViewMaster. And it went all the way, in 1950s, it was all the TV shows.
Right.
Right.
And not only cartoons, it was the TV shows.
Yeah,
It
I
was
get my I Love
Hopalong
Lucy
Cassidy.
ViewMaster, right?
It was Hopalong Cassidy, Roy Rogers, all of the
yeah.
cowboys from the early 50s. And so each time a new company took over, new improvements were made. And everything is made in the USA because the company is, was originally a soldier, a World War II soldier.
So with all those evolutions and all those changes and all those sales and all that, how were they able to maintain creative control of the company?
Well, because the original soldier stayed in, he was in charge of it
So
all the way till he sold it at the end, maybe 20 years ago.
Wow, so he basically structured every deal to make sure
Yes.
that he was still going to be a part
Absolutely.
of the process.
Yes.
Because a lot of times when a guy takes a company like this, he's basically selling and getting out and
Getting out.
pushing the whole thing off, and it was
no,
just
it
like
was-
his baby. He
it
was
was-
like, I'm not
exactly.
giving it all up.
It was a love that he had.
Yeah.
And the saddest part of it, and what really almost killed the company, was the DEP and EPA came out and
Plastics.
on the property found a well that was contaminated
Oh.
by the chemicals that are used in the filmmaking process.
Oh.
And so I don't know whether, I didn't go into that much, whether it was remediated or whatever, but it gave them an awful lot of headache and they had to
Yeah.
try different. And I go to a lot of restoration of photograph and archival things all over the country. And right now, the films that you're taking, the pictures you're taking, you could eat the film. That's how non-toxic it is. The films
Wow.
of 100 years ago are still able to be seen, but the ones that we're making now, the archivist said they'll be gone, evaporate, disappear in 20 years because of the chemicals that we're not using to sustain the color and the
Wow.
print.
That's interesting.
So it is going to be a terrible thing because newsprint is the same way.
Okay.
Newspapers from 150 years ago, and I have many. I keep them under the mattress and between the box spring and the mattress of all my beds. It's a good flat place that they're safe. And we can still read every one of those papers. But the newspaper that we have now is not used with real ink.
Right.
It's used with vegetable coloring, food coloring,
Right.
which again,
Doesn't last.
gone.
Doesn't
Right.
last.
so we're going to have in history an entire hole in our history where we'll have no photos and we'll have no documentation.
I'm going to jump in
save
here. I'm going to jump in here because you are talking about something that is true. But what we are going to have now that we didn't have then is the digital copy.
Absolutely.
So if the paper copy deteriorates,
Right.
we're still going to have access to it because of the way we're able to store things differently than we were back in the day.
Well, they said that about what was it? The tapes we used to put on all our music was on tapes, and now all those tapes are disintegrated.
Well,
Yeah.
the tapes are gone, but then the
tapes are
next
gone.
evolution, the compact disc, that's now gone.
That's the-
Right.
Right?
the
It's
albums are
all
making it
it's
come
all
back.
digital.
Right.
You know what? We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back with Friday with Carole.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. be a sub above.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
Well, welcome back to Morning Coffee and Fridays with Carole. We are having a blast out here this morning because we're playing with toys. And we got some ViewMasters out here. We've been talking a little bit this morning about the history of the ViewMaster and the evolutions of the company and how they have changed over the years. I was just telling Carole off camera here that I remember in the 80s playing with these, and we were talking about wondering if kids these days, if they understand the value and if they know about ViewMasters. And Carole had a great suggestion for me. My nephew has a birthday coming up next month. It's a great way to bridge the past with the present and give them a really cool gift that, look, it translates, it transcends time. It's cool whether you're, a kid these days that has cell phones and video games and all that stuff. If you were a kid like me, that this was a new form of entertainment. I mean, it's valuable to pass things like the ViewMaster along.
Well, it was an adventure because everybody in my generation, now I'll be 70 in another week, everybody in my generation had a ViewMaster. Mm-hmm. And at Christmas time, you got 6 more reels. And the reels came in just a little paper envelope.
Right.
But if you were really fortunate,
you got
a case.
Yeah.
And this happens to have Barbies in it.
Nice.
See? So
I think
it
that's
goes
Cinderella,
right
right?
up. Was it Cindy?
Yeah.
And then, of course, as Mark had said, he found this one was the best.
Yeah.
And this actually is the most desirable of all of them. It has a lot of metal parts because it takes 2 C-cell batteries.
Okay.
So at nighttime when you went to bed, you put your ViewMaster next to you, and you could watch it while you fell asleep.
Right, because these ViewMasters, you need to point them up towards the light to use them. That one had a self light, and honestly, it was the most coveted because you could use it anywhere.
Yes.
You didn't have to have a bright sunny day or a bright room to be in.
Right. And then, of course, we went on even further, and this is more looking like binoculars. Now, remember, the whole purpose of seeing with 2 eyes is to make it look 3D and more defined.
Right.
And so this one, you actually put the disc in the top. And Mark noticed, I never noticed, you can actually focus it.
Yeah. It looks like it has 2 different ways to focus. You've got one on the bottom, and then you have one on the side.
On the sides. And of course, it has the strap, which is great because a lot of the ViewMasters bit the dust because they were dropped.
Right.
Plastic is hard,
right.
Except it's also brittle.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, you drop it on the sidewalk, it's gonna break. But the one you just had in your hand here, the binocular ones, it's got Discovery Channel logo on it, which means that this is got to be fairly modern. This is a fairly new item, and I can't see if it's got a date on it. It does, 1998.
Okay.
So there you go. I mean,
that's still 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
20 years.
But they were still evolving. Right?
Absolutely.
The ViewMasters still had evolutions to go through.
Every new company that bought them had a new idea. One of the ideas was...
It's not a gun.
It's not a gun. This motion, when I'm pulling with a trigger, rolls this around so you get a different view.
Well, it's a
And
kaleidoscope.
here.
It's
Yes.
the kaleidoscope. It's basically a mechanized version of that old school twisty kaleidoscope that you had.
Right.
You pull the trigger and it does all the things. You probably can't see, but it's all
different
inside.
designs.
All the designs come.
Designs.
They basically come off you pulling the trigger, which I sit here all day with this stuff.
This only is with one eye. So then Fisher-Price ended up owning the company for
Right.
a while, and I don't know who owns it now, but Fisher Price. And I thought this was really great. Again, it looks like a camera. Little children weren't allowed to get a camera because if they dropped it, it broke. Well,
Right.
this is virtually
Unbreakable.
Has the strap for the hand, but more importantly, in the early days of photography, you had a light bulb up here as a flash bulb.
Yep.
And when you push the button, the flash bulb moves around just like it would in your parents' camera.
Right.
So kids thought they were taking pictures, but really when they were looking through the eye spot, they were looking at like a ViewMaster.
Right. Well, what's really cool about that is on the one side, you can look through like you're pretending to take a picture and just see what's ever on the other side of the camera. And then there is another eye hole that has pictures of animals, that has basically scenes, and it tells you what it is, so the kids are now learning as well as playing, which is always a great combination.
Well, the one thing that I forgot to say, which I should most importantly say, is the federal government got into this right at the end of World War II. And they were training all their pilots with ViewMasters.
What?
Yes. Yeah, they ordered like 100,000 ViewMasters, and then all the discs, the pilots would just sit there and learn from the discs.
So it's that was basically the first flight simulation
Yes, that's
was done on a ViewMaster.
on a ViewMaster.
That is
yes.
phenomenal information. You're not going to learn that anywhere else but here on Fridays with Carole on the Radio Vision Network, the morning coffee segment. So, Carole, I wanted to give you the opportunity to tell everybody out there whatever you wanted to tell them.
Well, I have an organic cafe in Edgewater Park right next to my bed and breakfast. I'm fortunate enough to have a summer camp. And a summer camp, I only take 8 children. And I do all these toys. One day we'll just go sit in the conservatory and bring out all the ViewMasters, and the kids will just
Fun.
lay on the ground and keep looking at ViewMasters.
That's fun.
So we're looking if you want to send your children to play with animals, swim in the pool, learn how to cook, and learn how to garden, then look up Camp Whitebriar, and we'll be happy to share our ViewMasters and all our other collections.
You know what, though? Please don't undersell it. It is such a fantastic camp. It's not just a place where kids can go and have fun. They're actually learning life skills that they're going to be able to take with them through the rest of their lives, and they're going to learn it from a very learned lady. Carole, thank you so much. You are amazing. But I would have never expected that today was going to be our ViewMaster Day. How cool is that?
Well, I try to keep you little boys
On our toes?
on your toes. Yes,
Yeah, well, you
indeed.
do a perfect job of it. Thanks very much. Listen, this has been a fantastic morning out here on Morning Coffee on the Radio Vision Network. I am Mark Cook. I urge you all to have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.